We're only, what, 3 weeks into January of 2022 at this point. And officially 1 year first properly of Brexit. And I already feel that maybe this year, probably my most said phrase, again, as you know, I am in a habit of, shall we say, repeating phrases, because some phrases I think are worth repeating, and some I just think are worth repeating because they desperately need hammering in to the public at large. Remember that argument we had back in 2016? That's what I feel like I'm saying this already. You can already see the title on the screen of the article we're going to cover. So let's time travel again back to 2016. What were we saying? What were Remainers saying about this? We were saying that one of the big things that businesses are going to have to deal with is capacity. Look, having to deal with imports and export licenses take time. I've said before, I have a friend who works in quite a large business. When Brexit first came in, this now added an extra 2 hours of his day of paperwork that he didn't have to do before. That is now time he has to spend. Now, of course, he's part of a large company, but if you're a small company and you don't have the skills, the expertise, or even the time to do this, then your reaction will basically just be, well, sod it, I'm not exporting anymore, or sod it, I'm not even importing anymore, which will lead to your business shrinking. We've already seen last year companies losing 20-30% of their business. What do you do if you're a small company and this is now the case? Well, as we're about to find out here, a lot of UK business owners are now fearing this time next year, they just simply won't exist. Being in the single market was essentially an extension of the UK market. You had access to over 500 million customers. You've now only got access to about 65. So, as you can see, it's shrank the market. And of course, this is going to lead to increased competition. And for some of these businesses, they just won't survive. And it's going to be a real shame. But again, this is because of Brexit. And one of the things I certainly hope that's going to obviously lead on from this is that businesses in particular are going to start speaking out and being more political, voicing their fears and saying, hey, the government's screwing up on this. This is what they really need to do, because this is what businesses really need to do. Businesses in France speak up, Germany, they speak up, but they don't seem to speak up here in the UK because it's considered not the British thing to do. Well, quite frankly, you need to start speaking up, guys. It's about time. So let's go diving into this article, because this has some very worrying statistics and unfortunately some very unpleasant things to probably peer into the future of what potentially this could lead to, which unfortunately is going to be job losses. So as always, please do remember to hit that like, share and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way. So this comes from City AM, the title of 1 in 3 business owners fear their company won't exist anymore in a year as the Brexit onslaught intensifies. Nearly 1 in 3 fear their company will close before the end of this year, primarily as a long-term effects of the Brexit start to bite, according to alarming data shared with City AM this morning. A significantly bigger number, 37%, didn't think their business will survive until the end of 2027, as more than half of 54% of UK business owners indicated that they found 2021 to be the most challenging year for their business since 2020. And Brexit was and continues to be a real obstacle, the entrepreneurs said, with at least 73% of those taking part in a countrywide survey by One World Express saying their business has seen zero benefits from the UK's departure from the EU. A quarter of UK businesses were significantly impacted by Brexit last year, and around 1 in 3 respondents said that their company experienced difficulties when attempting securing work visas for EU-based employees in 2021, while at least 43% said that they faced supply chain disruption. As the overwhelming majority now of 73% of business leaders said that the organization has seen no benefits from Brexit, a quarter made a very conscious decision to move away from importing or exporting or from the EU back in 2021. That is going to have a massive impact. And we've said this before, because that's business you're essentially giving up. If you're exporting, that means you're not selling. That means your business is decreasing. If you're not importing, that means your productivity and the amount of products you're probably going to make is probably going to go down as well. Again, that's a decrease in revenue. Decrease in revenue leads to less investment, less growth, less jobs. Moreover, though, the data shows that half of business leaders consider the potential emergence of the new COVID variants to be the greatest threat to their businesses in 2022. Brexit was always going to present challenges to UK businesses, but they have been compounded by the pandemic, explained Artur Barnak, the CEO of One World Express this morning. He said that this double threat has resulted in staff shortages and supply chain problems, with Brexit adding new red tape on top of this. With further uncertainty created by the Omicron variant, it is little wonder that so many business leaders are concerned about the survival of their organization, he said. He pointed out that many businesses are looking at non-EU markets now. Indeed, trade between the UK and non-EU countries has remained strong throughout 2021. After all, customs rules for such countries have remained unchanged despite Brexit, making the pursuit of trade opportunities beyond the EU seem like a more attractive prospect, he concluded. But there's always going to be one Brexiteer in the comments said, oh, that's a good thing. We've said before, exporting to these non-EU markets ain't going to be easy. There's still paperwork, there's still tariffs, there's still checks, and then you've actually got to try and make an impact in that market, which ain't easy. So UK businesses are focusing on exports to the EU was highlighted, of course, by fresh data published this morning, namely that Brexit could reduce the UK's exports to the EU by minus 7.3% by 2025. This is largely because smaller EU countries are benefiting from Britain's departure from the European Union. Again, we already covered this morning with the Irish daffodil farmers. And according to the report by city broker IG Group, which evaluated the export data to determine the impact of Brexit on the international trade to areas of potential growth, the top 3 countries that are benefiting from Brexit were Finland, Luxembourg, and Portugal. Other countries that benefited from the vacuum left by the UK after Brexit include Ireland, Croatia, Greece, Lithuania, and Cyprus. The highest proportional increase occurred in those locations where trade was smaller to begin with when the firm found. For example, in Finland, exports of aircraft, spacecraft, and parts thereof beat estimates by over 11,000%, and at 100 million euros instead of the predicted 87 million. Meanwhile, Luxembourg's actual figures for exports show an increase of over 2,000%. with estimates at least 16 million euros instead of the 77 million. The firm's cities analysis gathered the report data from the UK, countries from the EU, and some additional select countries to identify the trends streaming from the impact of various factors, including during 2020. The team evaluated the UK's main exporters prior to Brexit, such as precious metals, vehicles, and pharmaceutical products, alongside top exporters of the same products in the EU and Singapore, to understand which countries were able to increase exports. Again, this ain't good. There's no way you can spin this as good. And as we said there, businesses are looking for non-EU markets. Well, look at the video we did about the Scottish whisky exports. Look at how difficult it was. Even if we somehow got that trade deal with India, just look at how difficult it is for a Scottish whisky company to then export that product to India. It's incredibly hard. Just because we get a trade deal with Australia around the world or these other countries does not mean that this is going to be anyway an advantage for us. We've already seen the Australia trade deal, for example. We basically rolled over completely to Australia and gave them everything they wanted. Again, that is going to have profound impacts on us as a country. Not only that, again, we've got potential deals eyed up with India. We desperately want to do one in America, although, again, they've snubbed us, which is quite funny, considering how desperate the Brexiteers were for a deal back in 2016. Yeah, none of this data looks good. None of this data looks good at all. And it's going to lead to job losses, fewer jobs, fewer growth, fewer investment. And what does that mean eventually? Well, that means less tax revenue. So that means less money to spend on public services, etc., etc. Remember, we're already losing 4%. And I think when you look at the long-term data on this, I think when further analysis is done, I think the UK is going to lose certainly a lot more than 4%, because there are going to be knock-on effects from this of, like I say, these businesses closing or just deciding not even to bother exporting or importing anymore. That is going to be a big knock-on effect for the economy. Even if you can get, export to other places around the world, sending stuff, shockingly enough, is quite difficult. There are a lot of Brexiteers that don't even seem to understand how international trade works. But then again, we shouldn't be surprised at all by that. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Do hope you enjoyed it. And of course, please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button down below. And of course, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, should you like to buy me coffee, down below. And of course, the YouTube memberships are open as well, should you like to support the channel that way as well. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.